Hello and welcome back to the Shutter Sports Refresh. This is the weekly show that brings you all of the biggest news in sports. I'm your host Vin Noel, and let's take a look at the biggest sports news this week, starting with the NBA Finals, which just wrapped up. Now, since you were last with us, the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder ended up tying the series at 3-3, meaning there was a Game 7, and that went down last night. And everybody was expecting the Thunder to win this Game 7 as they were the 68-win team in the regular season. But the Indiana Pacers are the underdogs, and they brought the series to 7 games thanks to Tyrese Haliburton, who, importantly, was dealing with a lower calf injury in this game. Now, at the start of the game, Tyrese Haliburton continued to carry the underdog Pacers, hitting 3 threes in just the first 7 minutes of the game. But unfortunately, after those 7 minutes, Haliburton went down and didn't get up. And the reports are out saying that it was an Achilles injury to Haliburton, so that means he'll be out for at least a year. And from that moment on, the Game 7 was basically in the hands of the Thunder. They went on to dominantly win this game and win the NBA championship. The Finals MVP for the Oklahoma City Thunder was the regular season MVP as well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the first ever Canadian Finals MVP. We're Canadian here at the Shutter Sports Refresh, so we're proud of you, Shai. Shai was also the first player to win MVP and Finals MVP since LeBron James way back in his heyday. Congratulations to Shai on these incredible accomplishments and to the Oklahoma City Thunder for being NBA champions. And in more NBA news, a huge blockbuster trade went down just yesterday, the same day as the Game 7. The superstar Kevin Durant requested a trade from the Phoenix Suns, and he was sent to the Houston Rockets. Kevin Durant, who seems to always be disappointed in his team, missed the playoffs for the Suns this year and then requested a trade. And so the Suns did the best they could to get what assets they could from Kevin Durant. And what they found was a former number 2 overall pick in Jalen Green, a role player, 5 second-round picks, and number 10 overall in this year's draft. And so while the package for the Suns wasn't too great, the Rockets are now looking amazing with the superstar Kevin Durant on their team. And I mentioned the NBA draft earlier, that goes down on Wednesday, so make sure to come back to the refresh next week to see who went number 1. Let's move over to hockey now, where the Stanley Cup Finals are also over. Let's catch up in Florida for Game 6 of the series between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Now the Oilers have a 3-2 lead in this one, and they have home advantage, so it's all up to the Edmonton Oilers with their backs against the walls. But early in the game, a bad play by Edmonton turns into a goal for Florida, and Florida just took the game from there. And the Oilers, looking desperate, would pull their goalie early in the third period, but that ended up giving 2 goals for Florida's Sam Reinhart. And in fact, Sam Reinhart had 4 goals in this game, and so that means the Florida Panthers are now back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. The Conn Smythe, or the Finals MVP for the NHL, went to Sam Bennett of Florida in this series. He's been on fire all playoffs. So congratulations to Bennett on his award and for the Florida Panthers for being back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And now, with all of our playoff news out of the way, let's move into some MLB baseball. Now, we could talk about how bad the Colorado Rockies are because, yes, they are still as bad as we talked about a few weeks ago. But instead, let's do an MLB playoff picture check and take some flack off the Rockies. Now, last time we checked in with you, the Detroit Tigers were above all in the MLB, and that is still true. They're the best team in the league. Now, the Tigers are first in the American League, and followed up behind them in second and third are the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros, who both have 45 wins. Now, in terms of wildcard spots in the American League, we have the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. And that third and final wildcard spot in the American League is still up for grabs, as we have just about half of the season left to go, so there's lots of time for anybody to catch up, except maybe the Rockies. Moving over to the National League now, the top team in that league are the LA Dodgers, who have 48 wins. Followed closely behind them are the Philadelphia Phillies with 47 wins and the Chicago Cubs with 46 wins. Now, competition for the wildcard spots are a little bit more tough in the National League, with the New York Mets, San Francisco Giants, and Milwaukee Brewers all fighting for them. And in fact, these wildcard spots are so tough to grab that the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres, who are both 7 games over 500, are out of playoff spots. Now let's talk about the top players in both the American League and the National League. In the American League, the top players so far have been Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh. They're both incredible at hitting home runs, and they both have a WAR rating of over 5 already, which is just ridiculous. Now in the National League, there isn't anybody that's that superb, but Shohei Ohtani and Pete Crow Armstrong both have a WAR rating of 3.9. Make sure to come back next week to the refresh to see how these MLB standings have shaken out. And for our last piece of sports news, UFC 317 goes down this weekend. The first big matchup is Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Oliveira for the lightweight championship. Now remember, neither of these two fighters are champions right now. The belt is actually vacant because former champion Islam Makhachev vacated the belt to move up to the welterweight division. And the other big fight in this event is between the current flyweight champion Alexander Pantoja and Kai Kara France. And that is it for this week's episode of the Shutter Sports Refresh. I've been your host, Finn Noel. I hope you enjoyed watching today and that you learned something. You can check me, Shutter Sports Media, and our writer for this episode, Lucky Robert, down on Instagram right here. Thanks for watching.